Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pretty Ugly Lessons podcast. I am your co-host, Deshauna Barber, along with my co-host,
Brittany Caldwell. What is up, you guys? So today we have Marvin in the building. Marvin is Deshauna's new
fiance.
And we're just here to kind of pull in that black man perspective instead of what we think. We want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, right?
Yes.
So mental health in black men is an important topic. It really is. I feel like a lot of the time when I hear of mental health in black men, I might think of like black men who are kind of struggling, or like black men who are in jail, or black men whose struggles are very, very apparent publicly. But like we forget to kind of address and ask about the black men who are looking okay and doing great and their mental health.
Yeah, I think black men, and that's the scary thing about it, I feel like just as a black man, it's so many things that we have to do, so many pressures, expectations that we have to do just on a day-to-day basis that we actually deal with, we actually don't take the time to just deal with our day-to-day mental health. I feel like just the pressures of being a black man, providing, being strong, being masculine, and then we just, unfortunately, we live in a society where for so long, being vulnerable about what we're going through, weaknesses, quote unquote weaknesses, or everything is just deemed as weak, and we can't be that. So we have to silence ourselves. So it's just a magnitude of things that we just deal with on a day-to-day basis that can attribute to why our mental health is probably not where we need to be. And then we're in relationships now, or we're aspiring to be in relationships where it's like, you need to have this much money, you need to do this, need to do this for you to even have a good partner. So it's just always pressures on black men to just provide and be that. And so we have to actually take the time to sit down and actually work out our own mental health issues. It hasn't been a concept that we've used to dealing. We always just suppress until we can't handle it anymore.
What were some times where you feel like you have struggled with mental health?
I think I struggled with mental health in maybe subtle ways, but still it's been a struggle career-wise maybe. In the beginning, I always talk about imposter syndrome. And as an engineer, just being at a PWI and then being in an engineering space where I'm the only black male in the room. So you feel like, okay, it's an imposter syndrome. Am I really supposed to be here? Am I really qualified to be here? So even taking the time to be like, everybody starts, everybody learns. That's been a thing just career-wise. Now, the only blessing is my dad is a behavior specialist, and he has a master in psychology. So I've always kind of had and trusted him to kind of go to for mental health. But that's kind of rare to even have, not necessarily have a father figure, but rare to be comfortable enough to go to another male and talk. So that's a whole different level of like vulnerability and safety. So, yeah.
And how do you assist black men in their life? Like if you had a way or a method of giving back, you know, you have your dad that's able to assist you, have those conversations. What ways do you think you give back as a black man to other black men?
Well, I always, and I work with my, like even within my fraternity or people that I know growing up, like one thing is that sometimes we feel like we're the only person that has gone through something. So sometimes you just have to be vulnerable with another person so that they know that, okay, I'm not crazy or I'm not abnormal because I'm going through this. So it actually takes you to be okay with being vulnerable for people to then trust you and open up. And once you do that, it's floodgates, but it's just like, no judgment here. You're not less of a man but also I've gone through this, and it's okay if you want to feel vulnerable enough to talk to me. And just support. Like even with my friends, with even telling them about my surprise for your engagement. When I tell you the day that I told them, they had flights booked and was like, whatever you need, we're going to be there. So even when it comes to the things that we did after they took care of all of that. And I thanked them, but they was like, anytime you need us, we'll be here. And that's super, super important. just to have that support system. And then for us to even be cognizant to be like, how are you doing today? We'll have a wellness check for even with us. Now we might do it like, okay, let's go to the gym. So at least if we're being vulnerable, we're lifting weights. So we kind of feel a little, but it's like creating that safe space with people that you trust to get it off is like, we got to just have more of that and we will be better.
When you're feeling very angry, what steps do you take?
It takes a lot for me to get really angry. And I just feel like that comes with just like emotional intelligence, but also like, is this really worth it?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes we created, and I don't want to pinpoint the Black community, but sometimes we glamorize having an overreaction to something. It's been like, oh, don't play with me. Like, I can't do that. And it's like, we don't actually realize that this is actually very irrational.
Yeah.
Behavior, and we shouldn't be celebrating it. We should actually be more so like either seeking help or being like, hey, somebody. Hey.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because you'll go back and be like, girl, I had to go off on this girl today. And you're like, really, we need to be like, why would you do that? Not like, girl, what you do?
And even within the community, we like glamorize not being able to be like, not the person to play with, or like they already know
I ain't about to play with her.
Yeah, like
or
I'm crazy. Like and sometimes that's a different conversation for a different day. But even red flags were like, oh, I'm crazy. I'm gonna take your word for it and not mess with you, because if you tell me you're crazy, I'm gonna believe you.
You don't gotta tell me
twice. But like
yeah.
That's not like, if somebody was to say that, I'd be like, but you proud of that? You happily saying that you're,
you know what,
like,
I kind of can agree with you,
stuff there.
because when people don't react, we have a like, oh, they just don't care.
Yeah,
they don't care enough.
Yeah, and it's not that, it's just like the reaction to that is irrational, and is it helping the situation versus, okay, this has happened, either I feel, don't suppress your feelings, you can feel a certain way, but is your level of anger and aggression match the actual severity of the situation?
Yeah.
Do you think that in our community we have a tendency to have anger management issues?
Yes, and I think it's years and years of trauma to unpack that.
100%.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So I found this statistic actually that said that the Black life expectancy for men has decreased 6 years since 2014. So even with like medical technologies advancing and all these things, for a life expectancy to lower that traumatically amongst other demographics is a little wild. What is your thought process behind that as a Black man? How do you process that?
And if we look at it as like, if we try to like rule out like crime or like homicides or just, you know, that type of stuff, I just feel like as we get more and more into a day and age where like even keeping up with the Joneses is a thing, like even on social media, like even as a Black man, you already have pressure to do everything, but now you're seeing other people be successful on social media. So it's like, now I got to do all this. Now people are actually going through dangerous measures to even do that. So it's like, oh, I got to maybe rob or steal to get this just to keep up with the Joneses on social media, or I'm putting myself into extensive amount of financial debt just to keep up. I remember one person, he had on some like Gucci shoes and something like that. And I was like, oh, you got it. He was like, I just maxed out every credit card. I'm actually in immense amount of debt. And I was so shocked that he said that, but it was a real thing. But it's like, for you to just have that look, you're putting so much pressure on yourself to now that you can't even hold it when you're talking to me. You like, listen, I am drowning.
I gotta let somebody know.
Right. So I just feel like it's a lot of things that kind of attribute to that. Yeah.
You grew up in one of the most dangerous cities in America, St. Louis.
Wow. I love my city. Shout out to the Lou.
all you guys really are serving is Nelly, but I'm just kidding.
We don't play about Nelly. We loyal to a team.
How do you feel like you have kind of like, would you say you see that around you? Is what I'm trying to say.
It's definitely around. I just feel like you have to be vigilant as you get older. Certain things that you know, like maybe I don't need to go out all the time, or maybe I just need to, certain things that you just stay away from. You maneuver different. You just, if you know the spots, avoid the spots, and you have a better chance of being safe. But I feel like honestly, in this day and age, with everything, you could be at a PWI school and you could walk into your classroom and possibly. So we got to be safe and vigilant anywhere we go, honestly.
Have you gone to therapy?
That is my father. Yeah, so I'm lucky.
You got to start sending an invoice. You're
I've-
a grown
listen,
man now.
Yeah, but you brought me in this world. This is the least you can do.
Right.
But having him as a support system and in my own little therapy just has been immense. And I advocate for therapy for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as Black women, what can we do to help support and uplift Black men?
I think Black women just need to make sure that they are a safe space for Black men.
You know, I kind of
No, let me finish.
okay.
Because, and I feel like even we joke about it, and every joke has a truth where it's like, oh, I can't believe he did this, or I can't believe this, or you do something like, oh, look, crying, or it's certain things that are so subconscious and it comes out as jokes, but we don't know that's actually manifesting what we actually feel about that person being vulnerable.
Right.
So creating safe spaces where it's like, I can trust that if I tell my woman this, I know she's not going to think I'm less of a man by me coming to her. That is going to be like, that's at least the first step in making sure that we create healthy spaces for Black men to feel vulnerable in the first place.
So here's, and I actually agree with everything that you're saying. I think that creating a safe space is very important. I kind of battle with myself on this question.
You battle with creating a safe space for your
No.
man?
I
okay.
battle myself with the question, which is the question is, how do Black women go about uplifting Black men? I love everything that you said, and I feel like as a community, we really have to work on making sure that we're providing safe spaces and that we're uplifting each other going in both directions. And I don't know if it's TikTok or what it has done to me, but when I go on social media, I see a lot less support coming in this direction than going that way, if that makes sense. So I feel more support in terms of Black women supporting, advocating, being an army for Black men. But I actually find when the direction is turned this way, I really want us to have an episode about that.
But let's say a lot of real men with real ideas also are not in the comment section and making TikToks, period.
That is also
That
true.
is true.
That is true.
See, that's the one thing I will say about social media is that social media only exposes you to the loudest voices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And sometimes the loudest voices just ring in my ear that it does become the narrative that
And it's
I
also
have.
triggering when you see it, so you
It's
notice
so
it.
triggering.
Exactly. When I looked on social media, I actually, in my mind, when I thought about the statistics of Black men who are not married to Black women, I actually thought it was higher than it actually is, just
Right.
based
I'm
off of
telling
what
you.
we see on social media.
Yeah.
But the statistics prove otherwise.
Yes.
So I had to really take a step back. So it's like we can, as Black women, be like, oh, they're not standing up for us. They're not. But, you know, they're showing up.
Yeah.
They're not commenting below.
Yeah. But I'm going to go back to your point, though, because I do think that Black women are like the biggest and strongest force when it comes to advocating for Black men on a large scale. Like anytime it has been like unjust shooting of a Black man, Black women are the strongest and the ones that are out there marching for us first.
100%.
And I absolutely agree with that. And it's a different conversation to make sure Black men show up for Black women. I think strong Black men do stand up for Black women, but I understand that argument. My only thing is we're talking about when you go at home and you with your man, do and not being a voice of reason in a safe space when everything is good. But when we get into it, you're not throwing back what I said to you and was vulnerable with in my face in an argument.
Yeah.
That's where it gets to. Again, I of course I can trust you when everything is peaches and cream, but I know at the moment that I make you mad, are you throwing back the vulnerability? Are you throwing back the things I just told you that I was dealing with? And I'm not gonna lie to you, Black women can be intense. I know I helped you, but now we in an argument, I could throw back all of that stuff.
I get that.
So that's where the safety comes in. Like, of course, when it's good, it's good. But do I trust you when it's bad for you not to minimize me and emasculate me in that way?
I've had
That's
to
where
look
the safe
inward
spaces
because that is
needed.
you can show up on the streets
Yeah.
and with other people and be abusive at home,
Exactly.
This
mentally
is facts.
and
Always
emotionally
happens.
abusive.
Yeah.
This is facts.
Yeah, if your girlfriend, not her, of course, because she would never, like in the past, if you were dating somebody and they called you the B word, is that a deal breaker?
I don't tolerate that.
Oh
No, you can't do that.
No type of cussing at all. Like
No. You can cuss and we
you
can
dumb
joke.
A-N.
Yeah, we could joke and do that kind of stuff. But like, I'm big on respect, so I don't know. Just the B word is a lot.
You know, that's one thing I actually appreciate about our arguments. Although I do think I slipped up one time and said something that was really disrespectful. We addressed it.
Ooh, what'd you say?
We don't gotta go down that road. But
Spill the tea.
I do think that's one thing that I realize I can't have in a partner is someone that tries to hurt me with their words when we're having an argument.
Okay.
I really feel like, and I've been there before, and I realized very quickly, yeah, this ain't gonna work. Being with someone that even at the height of heat during these discussions, that they don't use their words to hurt you. Because the situation, I think arguments are already hurtful.
Yeah.
It's a terrible experience when you're arguing with somebody that you love. So when they also use that moment as a doorway to unleash everything that they've been feeling and saying disrespectful things, it just never helps.
But and also, if I know that you really feel that way, once the argument is over, I'm like, dang, she really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Very difficult
I think that bit goes even past dating, but in Black households with parents and children as well. So I was gonna ask you, like, because you're a very well guided, blessed mom and dad. There are so many young Black men that I know who have nobody, want to be somebody. And have nobody around them really in that positive light. Like, I know you're not a therapist, but you've been heavily guided by one. Like, what are some tools or like advice that you think Black men in that situation can kind of like tell themselves or like take away?
And I hate this answer because it kind of sounds a little cliche. But for somebody that's even in that space, so I want to be something, I want to do something, that's like the first step of, okay, I need to change or I want to. And like at that point, if it's not your dad, if it's not your uncle, you got to try to find a resource somewhere.
Yeah, mentor.
A mentor somewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like mentorship is so important. And even yesterday, or not yesterday, but after our engagement, I had one guy that is like a mentee to me tell me how much he's inspired by what I was doing, how I treat Deshaun and how he looked up to me. And so sometimes it's not even like that you actually like, everybody's watching. So my thing is, even if you don't have it, find somebody to watch. Find somebody to watch and then reach out. But at least if you could be like, okay, even if I don't have it, I know somebody that I can watch. And that's why I think, like, we talk negative about social media, but I think the positive in it is that I can see somebody doing something positive and I have the ability to reach out to them if I wanted to.
So, Mr. Echols, what is the pretty ugly lesson in all of this?
Well, I want to know specifically something your dad told you that sticks with you.
Yeah.
I think the pretty ugly lesson in this is, I think, damn, you kind of already said it, but I think prioritizing yourself and your mental health and your peace first. He always says that you cannot be good for somebody else if you're not good for yourself first. So even he talks about, even before I can help somebody else, I got to make sure I'm good first. So when we're talking about mental health, before we go out, we're quick to be going through something and then try to help somebody else. Focus on helping yourself first before you can reach out and help somebody else with their mental health.
I feel that.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed myself.
Yeah. More to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm a Black woman who really cares about the mental health of Black men. And I have not always been the best at showing that and portraying that. And by looking inward to myself, I'm working on that. And I think you are too. Yes. Like ways to show up for our men authentically and consistently, even when they don't deserve it all the time. Just kidding.
Thank you. Black men love Black women. Don't believe the hype.
I agree. Black men, show up for us in the comments. Let us know ways that we can show up for each other. And come say hello.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.